Have you ever been haunted by your past? Like it don't matter what you do or how much you pray, you just can't seem to come to terms with certain shit? Has that ever happened to you? Sometimes I lay awake at night, right? And I try to get sole control over things that I really don't have any control over. Because sometimes the things that haunt us from our past has nothing to do with us. Sometimes it could be the sins of our parents that fall upon us. And it's just something that we have to come to terms with. I know y'all probably like, what in the fuck is she talking about? It's cool. I'm going to explain it a little bit further. I just want to welcome y'all to Toot's Diary. What it do, family? It's your girl Toot, and I am back with another video. I know it's been a minute since I uploaded on Toot's Diary, and quite frankly, there's no excuse for it. I've actually just been in this place where I've been going back and forth trying to process certain shit. And you know how sometimes your brain can be scrambled, and you need to go through a process before you know how to even relay it to the masses. I think that's kind of where I was at. This morning I woke up though, and I was able to catch a prayer from Mama Sandra, and it touched me, and it touched me in a way. And her prayer kind of coincided with like a DM that was sent to me from a lady on Facebook. She told me, she said, I see that you always speak on your father, but you rarely say anything about your mom. And she was like, I'm not trying to overstep my boundaries, but I would love to have a story time, about the dynamic of you and her relationship, because from the small excerpts that I have caught from you, I think that we'll be able to relate when it comes down to our mothers. And I'm not even gonna lie, when I seen the message, I kind of didn't pay attention to it because my mother is a very sticky situation for me. For people who've been following me since I first came on this platform, like a year ago, I did do a video called Mama's Blues, and it kind of went a little bit more into detail about the relationship that I shared with my mom. But I figured, now I do have new followers and people who probably don't know some of the background of me, so I decided that I would do that story time. My mother had me when she was 17. I'm pretty sure a lot of people who watch me could share that same thing. Like, we probably all have young mothers or whatever. But my mother had me when she was 17, and she battled with addiction from 19 or 20 all the way into her death. It was a situation that as a child I was always looking for some type of reasoning behind why she would choose dope over her kids. In my brain, I'm thinking it had to be something. It had to be my grandma, it had to be my granddaddy. It was something traumatic that happened to make her want to choose dope over her kids, So it bothered me a lot. By the time I turned 20, I had an opportunity to ask my mother those things. And I even went a step further, like, dog, I will even go get you some crack, We can all go get our vices. We can all put this shit out on the table. Let's all go get what we like. You know what I'm saying? And I would really like to know the answer to some of these questions that I have, because it's fucking me up, So she agreed. We all sat at the table, and I'm just looking. I'm like getting ready to just like, brace myself for like this sob story that she wasn't able to deal with. And I never got what I was looking for. Quite frankly, the narrative behind how she even started doing dope was her and my cousin went over a guy's house who so happened to sell dope. He was actually chopping crack up on a table. They went as far as saying, let me try it. And then the rest is history. Now, the thing that's really corny about this whole situation is because, like, I think as parents, people don't realize that their choices and their sins fall on the children. My mother making the decision to want to try crack not only ruined my life, but it ruined my younger sister life, my sister Nikita life, and my baby brother life. You know what I'm saying? My baby brother never even had the opportunity to meet my mother. You know what I'm saying? And it's those situations that makes it hard for the children, because we have to live with her decisions, and we can't have any excuses for why life is hard for us. See what I'm saying? It's crazy. But my mother was on drugs her whole life, and to the point where when I did visit Detroit, I would have to go find her. You know, I would have to ride around until I found her. And one thing about it is I could always find her. You know what I'm saying? You can go to any trap in Detroit. Somebody has seen her or knew where she was, or she just left. But that was pretty much what I had to do as a child. I had to go and find my mother, you know. When I did find her, it wasn't like it was terrible. My mother was a functioning addict. There would be days where she would look terrible. But then there would also be days to where you couldn't tell she was on drugs, you know. You never knew what you was going to get, you know what I'm saying? But when my father died, I started to really hold her accountable for a lot of things, because I knew that my father was very close to me and he provided me with the maternal and paternal aspect. So when he died, I kind of fell stripped from everything. So I blamed her now, you know what I'm saying? I even went to her and I told her, Dad's gone. I need you, you know? I need you. I need you in my life. And I don't know if that struck a chord, but I will say from the moment that I did bury my father, I did start to see a different woman emerge, you know. When she started really making the strides to want to clean her life up, me and my wife was actually going to provide her with an opportunity to come to Boston and live with us. I was actually getting my spare bedroom ready for her because it just felt right this time. You know, it felt perfect. She was calling me every night. She even made it a point to say, I need you to make sure you call me every night because I don't want to relapse before I can get there. And that made me feel good because I'm like, she's trying. She really want to be better. So I made it a point to make sure that I called her every night. You know what I'm saying? And make sure that she stayed on track until I can get her here, you know? Fast forward one Friday, I was calling her. She didn't answer her phone, which was weird because she would just be answering like clockwork. Now I did speak to her the day before that on a Thursday, and she was telling me that she wasn't feeling good. She wasn't feeling good and things like that. So a good friend of my mother's was gonna actually bring her to the doctor that Friday. She couldn't wait, so she walked up to the corner store to get some aspirin because she was in a lot of pain. Now at this time, I didn't realize where her pain was stemming from. I just thought she wasn't feeling good, you know. So when she walked up to the store, there was a raid that took place. Police came and pretty much needed the identities and the IDs of everybody who was outside of the store at the time. My mother, not knowing that she had a warrant, gave her name freely, which was crazy because my mother had like 100 aliases. And in most occasions, that's what she would do. She would give an alias, you know. But in this particular case, she gave her full name, which she was confident about because she wasn't aware that she had a warrant. Anyway, the police ran her name and realized that she had a warrant. So they arrested her and took her to jail. Now, meanwhile, she wasn't feeling good. So being that other times that she has been locked up, it should have been documented that my mother had terrible kidneys to where she had to get dialysis. So my mother should have never really been in general population. She should have been taken to the infirmary, especially when she was complaining about not feeling good. That plea kind of fell on deaf ears. They didn't care. However, the people that she got locked up with was people who she know, you know, because it was in her environment. So a lot of people called my mother auntie. She was like the OG of the streets because she had been on drugs and been on the streets that long to where everybody knew her, you know. So a lot of the younger people who were locked up with my mother started banging on the bars, you know what I'm saying, telling the guards like she's not feeling good because at this point my mother wasn't really responsive. Now there was a young lady who was in the jail cell, don't know how she even had access to a phone, but she was calling a really good friend of my mom's who was relaying information to me. And I got the word that she was locked up. We're trying to work on things from our end to try to help her basically get out. But you already know how it works when it's the weekend. It's Friday. Most of the time you have to wait until Monday before you can get a hearing to even try to get released or bond out or things like that. So they kept relaying information to us, let us know, look, she's not feeling good. Somebody need to be able to do something. So we even kind of took it a step further and even start calling the jail ourselves. You know what I'm saying? To let them know, listen, you know, my mom is in jail, you know, whatever. She's on dialysis. She needs treatment, yada, yada, yada. That shit fell on deaf ears. I probably called Wayne County Jail 172 times, you know what I'm saying, to try to get somebody to help us. Meanwhile, we're getting all this information from the inside from this other inmate. So they continue to beat on the bars and things like that. And after like 3 or 4 hours, a guard finally came, but they didn't take her to the doctor or anything. They just brought her an aspirin, you know. So she took the aspirin and then she sat on the floor. And the lady who was sharing the cell with her just felt like something wasn't right. So she called the young lady who knew my mother back and was like, look, something is bad. She's not talking. Her eyes is glazed over. Something is not right. Something's not right. So that went on for another 4.5, 5 hours. You know what I'm saying? And when they finally did come, they brought a wheelchair inside of the cell to where when they helped my mother get in the wheelchair, her head went straight back. And that was the last time she took breath. The lady who shared the cell with her had notified that they seen her, you know, use the bathroom. Because, you know, usually that's what happens when you pass away. You know, your muscles weak. So your bladder might leak, you know, things like that. So we're not knowing that she passed away at this time. So the same female that the inmate was talking to while my mother was in jail, she immediately left her house to go meet my mother at the hospital because according to, you know, the police and the guards, they were taking her to the hospital. So that young lady had got there, and I'm like depending on her to get there because she's relaying the information to me back in Boston. I'm trying to figure out, like, look, am I flying there? What's going on? You know, I needed more information and things of that nature. So she had sat at that hospital for 4.5 hours and my mother never arrived. Now, the inmates who was in jail seen the ambulance in front of the jail because I guess they had a view to the front of the jail. The ambulance was parked in the front, but they never went anywhere. They actually just came around back and they put her in the morgue that housed in the Wayne County Correctional Facility. Okay, so she went to jail. I mean, she went to the morgue, but we at this point we're not even knowing where she's at. We're waiting on her to get to the hospital. We don't know what's going on. So something just kind of told me to call the morgue. Now at this time she wasn't there, or she wasn't listed there. So when they was like she wasn't there, I felt kind of a relief. And it wasn't until my auntie called me and she was like, I don't really know how true this is. And this was my father's sister. She was like, I don't really know how true this is, but somebody just called me and told me that your mother just died in jail. So now I'm really kind of crazy because I'm like, all right, I just called the morgue. She's not at the hospital. Where is she at? So I started calling the morgue back and forth again. And I finally got in touch with a young dude who was there. And I asked him, I'm like, you know, thinking it's a lady that just got there or whatever, named Cynthia, and I need to know if she's there. And I had the date of birth, I had the year wrong. I kept saying 61 when it was supposed to be 62. So he was like, nah, I don't have nobody with that date of birth. And I guess he can just hear the turmoil that I was going through. He was like, look, man, he was like, describe her. So I got to describe her, my mom. I'm like, look, she 4'11", bro. You know, started to go through some physical features. And he basically was like, I think I have her here. So when I finally talked to my uncle, he was like, no, it's 62. So I was able to call back and was like, look, this is the date of birth. And then that was the correct date of birth. Now, the thing that bothers me the most is because I know my mother lived a life that a lot of people wouldn't be proud of. She lived a life that a lot of people won't even have empathy for. I get that. But the way that she died, it haunts me. Because she was by herself and she wasn't given a fair chance. Now we hear these episodes of Sandra Bland and different type of things like that, to where people just wrongfully die in jail, you know, even if they're considered the bad guy and nobody cares. This is my situation. This is one of those occasions where I wish I was well off, because I actually would have sued the piss out of Wayne County, because they definitely failed my mother. You know, a lot of people might hear this and be like, well, shit, your mother might not even deserve a second chance, and maybe not. You know what I'm saying? But it's still the fact that as human beings, we should still be allotted the things that are owed to us. And all she really needed was somebody to be there, you know? I'm bringing up the story because a lot of the times, us as children, we look for somebody to blame, even if sometimes we put the blame on ourselves, you know? I never really can get that. For a while, I blamed that situation on myself. Could I have did something more, you know? Should I have just flew there? You know, a lot of different scenarios. And it still bothers me because I don't have any closure. Because the only thing that really haunts me is the images that I have in my head of like my mother's last moments. And it tears my ass up. When my mother died, me and my sister, we had to pretty much bury her ourselves. We got very limited help from other family members, which is crazy. The same people who I used to bury my father, I actually went to him. Because I'm thinking like, dude, you just seen me here 2 years ago. Like, we need some help, you know. So we wasn't able to come up with all of the money for, you know, an open casket and things like that of that nature. But I was able to, we was able to come up with a nice memorial service and with a cremation, which is what she wanted anyway, wanted to be cremated. The guy who owned the funeral home did allow us to see my mom before he actually did the cremation, where he allowed some of the family. I hadn't seen my mother in 2 years since I had buried my father, so I really wanted to see my mother. I wasn't thinking that I would be seeing my mother in raw form though, without the embalming fluid. And she had been deceased for almost like a week, so she had just been in a freezer. So when we got there, it was something as small as just unzipping a bag. That was one of the moments that I wish I could get back in my life. I wouldn't have never imagined seeing anybody that way, especially my mother. It was in raw form. The only way I knew it was my mom is because of small things. Like, we have like the same pinky toe, you know? But it was an image that I wasn't prepared to see. Not at all. And it's an image that still sticks with me to this day. The smell. How she looked. Something that never goes away. And I have to deal with it, you know? I know that I did everything as a daughter. Every time she called for me, I was there. And sometimes I feel like I might have did too much. I didn't set any boundaries. And maybe that's probably why it took her so long to want to clean herself up. But I was one of those type of children who were like, all right, she's already weak. She's already on drugs. I don't want to flip out more to make her do more drugs. You know what I'm saying? But for a while, I had to realize that, you know, the choices that she made was going to determine her outcome in life. And even though I find understanding in it, I find reasoning in it, it still hurts. I look at my baby brother who was taken away from my mother when he was like a newborn. because my mother had left him with somebody, another crackhead or whatever, who decided to not want to babysit no more. And then they left him in the house overnight. The only reason he was found is because the maintenance man heard this baby crying all night long. So they finally got to him and realized no adult was present. He was a newborn, so he was taken away. We just found my brother. He turned 18 or whatever. And I just look at his life, and I look at how his life was affected. I have a younger sister named Nikita, who was 1 pound when she was born because my mother was on drugs with her. And I look at her, how her life was affected. I look at my sister Tiffany, who I talk about a lot because we grew up together, and her life was affected. Now, not saying that, you know, we're not having the ability to live good lives, because I think that we've done very well for ourselves, being that we didn't have a mama. I think that we did very well. It's still a lot of things that affect us, and these are going to be things that we would never have closure for, because the lady that's responsible is no longer here. You know, her responsibilities to us died when she did. So I wanted to bring this up because there's somebody that's going to watch this video that has went through the same situations I have. You know, it might not be a mother. In this case, it might be a grandmother or a father or a brother or a sister. It's somebody that has hurt us to the point of no return, and there's just absolutely positively nothing we can do about it. And for those people who goes through what I go through, I just want to say, just keep pressing. There's going to be certain things that is way beyond our control. Things like this is way beyond our control. But the only way that we can fix things like this is that it starts with us. You know what I'm saying? When I become a parent, there's just going to be certain things that I'm going to use as my mother's life as a blueprint to make sure that, you know, I don't bring those same ghosts and those same baggages, you know what I'm saying, to my children. We have to break the cycle. We can't look at these people and have a pity party. We can't. Because at the end of the day, the landlord, our car insurance people, nobody gives a fuck about what we went through. Don't nobody care about what our mamas went through, our fathers went through. You know what I'm saying? So the only thing that we could do is change our lives for the better. It starts with us. Whatever our parents did wrong to us, we got to fix with ourselves and make sure that history does not repeat itself. Generational curses is real. Some of the sins that fell on my grandmother fell on my mama. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? They almost had the opportunity to fall on me. But you have to be aware of that shit. And you have to counter it. And you have to say, you know what? I want better for my life than my mama had, than my grandmama had. You know what I'm saying? We can't use no excuses. Because we can't take excuses to the landlord. Because at the end of the day, he just wants his rent. He don't care about shit that we went through. So I'm just hoping, you know what I'm saying, that whoever received this message today, just keep pressing. Just keep pressing on, man. We got this. You know what I mean? One chapter at a time. That's all we could do. So shout out to those kids. Shout out to those children, you know what I'm saying, that grew up without parents. That's just basically just trying to bust their ass to make a mark in life. You know what I'm saying? I just want to say to you guys, man, keep pushing. Don't ever stop. With that being said, man, I'm going to catch y'all, dog.